Check. Sailors and pirates and scalawags we, in the dark Caribbean, on a roiling sea. Our health is low and the danger's high. There's so many ways to die. There's 5 in the crew, what are we to do? We've been blinded by a bilge rat, crunched by a croc, drowned in the droppings of a seagull flock, stung by the jellyfish hung from a rail, battered by a barnacled humpback whale, stabbed in the groin with a rusty pitchfork, keel-hauled under a Spanish man-of-war. Our health is low and the danger's high. There's so many ways to die. There's only 4 left on this bloody poop deck. We've been obliterated by an obscure oyster cult, mashed by a marrow mortal, quite an insult, electrocuted by an eldritch eel, an ancient elder our souls did steal, livers all black from years of rum. I just found out where scurvy comes from. Our health is low and the danger's high. There's so many ways to die. We're down to 3 on this forsaken sea. We've been bitten on the back by a banded sea crate, drawn and quartered by an angry sea wraith, shot in the gut with a cannonball, carried off whole by a carrion crow. Our lungs all filled with wet consumption, shocked by a shoggoth. Now isn't that something? Our health is low and the danger's high. There's so many ways to die. It's just us 2, we are so doomed. We've been gnawed on by a necro swine, pickled in a barrel of bile and brine, garroted by a gorilla crab, smashed so flat by a coral slab, burning under the sun in a gibbet cage, feeling the wrath of a mermaid's rage. Our health is low and the danger's high. There's so many ways to die. Now it's just me, it's time to flee. But I've been chomped in half by a fossil shark, chained in the well of eternal dark, stoned to death by a mad Jamaican, got heart disease from too much bacon, swung from a noose which did not slacken, gored by the beak of a love-crazed kraken. My health is low and the danger's high. There's so many ways to die. Well, you could complain that life's not fair, but the angry sea, it just don't care. My health is gone and the end is nigh. In the dark Caribbean, so many ways to die. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. When I was but a wee boy, my father said to me, "Son, for generations we've sailed upon the sea, but danger's out there lurking to send you to the grave. So learn your ABCs, lad, perhaps your life you'll save. Now sea monsters they come in many shapes and sizes. Let's review them all now so there be no surprises. A is for albatross, hung around your neck. B is for bilge rat on a briny shipwreck. C is for Charybdis, hiding under a rock. D is for deep ones, in the great abyss they stalk. E's for ancient elder, who'll try to steal your soul. F is for fossil shark, who'll try to eat you whole. G is for giant squid with tentacles of steel. H is for hydra with many heads that kill. Some monsters be above ya, some monsters be below, but the monsters that'll get ya are the monsters you should know. I's for infernal pelican, who's got a massive beak. J is for jellyfish, whose sting will make you weak. K is for...
Hey, Scully! Yar, Stinkosaurus!
Oh, right.
Arty-ar-ar-ar!
Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Matt Rose. And tonight we are going to be working on Sir Raton. And Sir Raton is a rat. In case you couldn't have guessed. All right, so I've got some parts here. It's been a while since I worked on Sir Raton. And I found a rat on, I think it was on Sketchfab, to kind of use as a model. Of course, this rat is a little bit more, he's a little bit more aggressive looking. All right, so I'm going to check a couple of things here real quick. All right, how is the microphone level? Using a different microphone tonight. I'm using the Neumann right here. Usually I use the Rode wireless ones, but tonight we'll use this one. See how this works. Check, check, check. Seems like it's okay. All right. And let's see what we're going to do here then. Well, so this puppet will rotate probably at the waist. Usually the arms are clay, and usually the jaw moves up and down, and neck usually is attached with the ball and socket joint, so it can have nice range of movement. All right, let's see what we're going to do here. I think for now, I can hide these shoulder and wrist parts. Looks like I have, I don't know why I have a boot here. I think this boot can be hidden. These are some feet I got from Sketchfab. Let's see here. He's got a bit of a loincloth. I don't know where this tummy came from. Is that a rat tummy? All right, rat butt it says. Kind of like his skinny legs. All right. Let's see what we're going to do here. I need to plug this thing in real quick. Everything in my studio runs on batteries. There's like 3 different kinds of connectors, and there we go. Let's keep my monitor going here. Okay, so Mr. Raton, let's get back to you. Looks like he's got some furry legs. I'm not sure what I was doing with this last time. Cylinder, it says. All right, these are some pants from another character, but I don't know if he's, it looks like he has a loincloth on, so probably have to make some furry. All right, I think this just kind of in there for the proportion. So usually for my puppets, I do 1/3 head, 1/3 torso, and then 1/3 legs, and that's just kind of makes them cartoony. And let's see here. Let's see what we got going here. Okay. Probably, I'm just gonna cube out his torso. And then I'll probably start roughly sketching it. Maybe I'll use his pants as kind of the base of his waistline and sculpt these pants into some legs with the see what the mesh looks like here. That's pretty meshy. So sometimes the danger in using other models, this is a model that Mark Spess made, is it's coming out of ZBrush with the super high resolution mesh. And it leads to kind of weird structures like this down here, which don't lead to very good meshes. So I probably will end up redoing that, but we'll just use it for a base right now. Okay, let's see here. All right, and the artwork's by the amazing Pascal Reber from Switzerland, who is just a wonderful artist. He is on Instagram at The Bleached Eye. Okay, so I'm just gonna do. It's got this cowl here too. Wonder if I'll end up making that a single piece or another piece. What to do, what to do. So many things to do. Now, let me just kind of roughly flesh this out. Okay, Control R. Oops, edit mode first. And then Control R. There it goes. And then Control R. Okay, and then Control R. Alright, so I'm going to go into sculpt mode. Just kind of really rough this out here. Probably need to maybe something like that. Okay. Just always kind of start coarsely, and I'm not a CG modeling sculptor by trade. I just know just enough to be dangerous and to 3D print my puppets. So sometimes I'm a bit quiet, she says. How about that? Check, check, check. Is that better? Let me move this up here. Move the gain up on the OBS. Check, 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 check. New puppet. Yes, this is Sir Raton. All right. Technical director Ginny says the audio is a little bit better. I'm used to kind of whispering. All right, Sir Raton. So let's kind of. No, I could probably mirror this, but a lot of Pascal's puppets are asymmetric, so we'll just do that. Okay. Kind of bring this down here, and again, he'll have clay arms. Makes it a little bit easier to move the arms and less mechanisms. All right, so there's that. And come back to here, sculpt. Okay. Make sure I got the right object selected here. There it goes. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to rough in these shapes. And I might do the cowl as a separate piece, but it'll print it together. Because sculpting it might take a little bit more time than just doing it as a separate piece. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to pull out. I'm going to pull out these shoulder pieces. Use the grab tool. Alright, and then just kind of roughly pull out the shoulder. Again, I'm just coarsely getting a shape in, and then another session I'll do the fine work. And when you're making a puppet, for a short, it doesn't have to be like the best puppet ever. I mean, if it gets you in the ballpark, it's all about return on your time investment, ROI. You can spend a lot of time trying to make the best looking puppet ever, and then, you know, it's so many things. It's story, it's the mise en scène, the set and music, and I like to say mise en scène. It's cool. It's a film term. It means the setting, all the elements that go into a scene or a play that is not story and dialogue related. So like the set, the color palette, audio, music, kind of what sets the feeling for your play or your movie. Okay. Again, I could mirror this, but I don't really want to have it like be too symmetric. I think it makes him a little bit more interesting if he's not symmetric, and again, a lot of Pascal's designs are asymmetric, so. Okay, there's that. There's this right here. Sir Raton. Okay, so need to come out here with these a little bit more. All right, there's that. So we're just going to work on his kind of his shoulder. Okay, I'm going to go smaller. And I'm just coarsely kind of laying out the shapes here for his arms, and then this guy looks like he has like a leather top on. I don't know what the right word for that is. Leather blouse, leather jacket. He's not wearing much. He's got his fur, and I don't know, I gotta figure out if I'll 3D print the fur, or if I'll use some kind of practical. Ginny's really good with her cat hair, but that's good for like beards and hair and stuff. It's kind of a funny. She also uses puppet hair, but sometimes she'll use actual cat hair, which is kind of funny. But it works. And let's see here. This is he's still kind of blocky. All right, there's that. I want to bring this down a little bit. There's going to be a point in here where when we finish that we'll put some Boolean insets for the shoulder attachments, which look like this. So there'll be 2 of these, and that will go in there, but that'll be much later in the process. Okay, I suppose I should probably save this. Save as Sir Raton. I'll do B1. Okay, I had called it vest before. All right, Sir Raton. And then I have some textured wire that has like thread textures on it I'll use for his tail, and I'll probably airbrush it to match the rest of his costume. I used it on some tentacles for some like mind flayer creatures that haven't been shot yet, but are for an upcoming episode called Kryneth. Okay, so let's see what we got here. And that's kind of coming out here. Okay. All right, now this needs to kind of come up somewhat here. This needs to come out. All right. Again, this Sir Raton, he's going to be a 3D printed puppet. And I'm going to turn this mirroring off. Here we go. And I recorded dialogue for him almost a year ago. With Christina Diaz, who's a Denver friend of mine from Renaissance Festival. She lives here in Denver. She's big into D&D, so I thought it might be fun to have her voice character. So she came over. It's been a while. But other projects have come up, but we're finally getting to Sir Raton. And basically I'll do coarse modeling, then fine modeling, break up the parts, 3D print them, paint them, assemble them together. These guys are all going on the castle set. So there's 3 sets of music we recorded, Jesslyn and I. We've done 2 of them so far. And once the Alchemist tune for the Wizard, and then for Granat and Sir Raton, who are both kind of warrior class guys, we wrote some kind of battle music, which is basically a unholy combination of the Battle of Evermore from Led Zeppelin with acoustic guitar and mandolin, and the 5/4 time signature from Mars, Holst's Mars. So turned out pretty good. So now I made the Granat puppet. I'm gonna work on Sir Raton, and then I finished the castle keep almost 6 to 8 weeks ago, and I watched a YouTube video on diffuse gels, which was fun. So I bought some diffuse gels by Roscoe from B&H Video, and gonna probably do those next week sometime. So I'll experiment with different gels and see what kind of diffuse lighting. Most of the time when I'm shooting, like if I'm shooting like the Swamp Dragons, I used a balance board. So I basically just had, I think, like a 17% key light off the balance board. And then I do the same thing with the Queen Vicky tea jokes, since it's in a museum and it's, you know, supposed to be kind of natural, practical light. But for the pirates, I always use a key light with a gel on it. And hello, Carter Rose. And for the pirates, I always use a blue gel. So I don't like to do a whole lot of post-production with the shorts. Usually takes me about 45 minutes to do one short, and I guess I should save this. This laptop is old, so it kind of times out every now and then. So I just use a blue gel over that, and then I use a red fill light, and it kind of gives some interesting lighting. I don't have time or energy to do a lot of color correction, and I don't think it's really needed. On some of these more intricate, like the upcoming dungeon diving guys, I might do a little bit of color correction, but I just as soon do it practically and just be happy with the lighting that I have. A lot of times the color correction guys are just like, I'm going to desaturate this. I'm going to, it's like, that's no fun. I just want to kind of show how it was in the camera. And, when the shorts, I don't have a lot of time to kind of fart around with this. And I don't know that the audience really would appreciate a whole lot of color correction. They're just watching for the silly jokes. So maybe if some of the short stories that I've been working on, when they come out, maybe this summer, maybe I'll use some color correction there. But, I like to, filmmaking is a lot of kind of, at least at this level, it's a lot of jack of all trades kind of stuff. So I do want to learn a little bit about color correction, and I'm using DaVinci, which is a platform for color correction. But I just watch a bunch of YouTube videos and see what works out. It's not turning out bad for his. I'm kind of just modeling as I blather. There's that. And again, I'm not after symmetry. I kind of like asymmetric. It makes it a little bit more interesting. And Pascal's drawings are asymmetric. Okay, so that's kind of his vest. Now I have to work on his cowl. So I think, and when I print it, it'll end up probably printing as a single piece, but I think it'd be easier for me just to make a cowl than try to sculpt a cowl. Because I'm not an excellent sculptor. I'm just a hack sculptor. And I've been doing modeling I think I started modeling on Maya in when we lived in Los Angeles, so probably about maybe about 2001, 2002. So I've been modeling for about 25 years. The first time period was in using Maya for a long time. I mean, the concepts are all about the same. And then about 2 years ago, when I started the studio here in Denver, Castle Rock, I looked at the price to get a monthly subscription to Maya, and it was just way too much. So I learned about Blender. Rats are known to be very... I gotta move this thing right here. To be very sweet pets. They can be very affectionate, actually. Nice, on the other hand. Oh, mice, I mean. Silly predictive text. Well, I have a funny rat story. So I had this friend, Mike Holtz, when I lived in Los Angeles, and he had like a zoo, kind of like we have here with cats, but he had every animal. And he had an old rat, and the old rat was dying. So he thought he would be nice to this old rat and say, okay, old rat, I heard somewhere that if the rat freezes, that he will not feel any pain when he dies. So Mike put the rat in a Tupperware tub with a bunch of ice, and Mr. Rat didn't die. So he said, okay, I'll put more ice in this Tupperware tub. Well, come to find out, the ice in the Tupperware tub melted and Mr. Rat drowned in the freezer. So much for Mr. Rat having a humane death. That's my rat story. Okay, so that's not too bad. And I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with the cowl. And I have to give Ginny 100% there. 100% for Ginny. All right, put that down there. Okay, so that's not too bad for his his vest or his jacket. Again, I'll be putting, when I start the fine work, I'll be putting some insets here for the shoulder pieces using the Boolean commands. Now, okay, I think, what am I going to use? I'm just going to start with a block or cylinder. It's kind of spherical. I guess I'll start with a sphere. Okay. So this is, you know, you're making decisions based on, you know, Pascal gave me his library to work from. And again, Pascal Reber, he's an amazing Swiss artist. You'll find him on Instagram at the bleached eye, the _ bleached eye. And so, I mean, you're using this for inspiration. Inspired the character for Christina Diaz, who did the voice. But, you know, I'm my own producer, director guy here. So if he's in the ballpark and he looks like an angry rat, then I'm good to go. So I don't need to be like super, what's the word I want to say? You know, on the source material. Super true to the source material. It's an inspiration. So, all right. So I'm going to save that. And then, that's a terrible story. It is if I mean, poor Mr. Rat. He did not do well. Okay. And let's get back to here. I'm just looking at my phone that I use as a monitor. Okay, so that's called cube. I'll make cube called vest. And now, tail cylinder. What is that? Oh, that's just going to end up being an inset for his tail when I make it practical. Rat head, rat butt. All right, bloop. I don't like the rat butt. Okay, let's just get rid of rat butt. Neck cube, that's going to end up being an inset for the ball and socket joint. Legs right, legs left. I think these are some that I stole from a Sketchfab model. Okay, so now let's work on his cowl. Okay, save. Back to object mode, add a mesh cube, and we'll go to subdivisions, which is here, and subdivisions, which is here, and we'll make it into a little bit of a sphere. There we go. We'll apply that. Most of what I learned about Blender is just doing it, and then needing to solve a problem, watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos. I mean, really what I'm doing here is modeling. I'm modeling in Blender. I'm not rendering in Blender. I'm not doing any animation in Blender. There's a lot you can do in Blender, but I just do one thing, and that's model. So, all right, so let's see here. Maybe kind of put that there. And I tried using a stylus, but maybe I didn't have the right stylus. Maybe I didn't use enough stylus. Maybe I'm not a sculptor. I've used the mouse for 25 years. So it's just, I just use the mouse. All right, so now we're gonna make the cowl. I need to kind of squish this down a little bit because he has this kind of big neck, but that doesn't fit the proportions of my puppet. Because he's got a tiny head. All right, he has a tiny rat head. So again, I use 1/3. In my puppet proportions, it's 1/3 head, 1/3 torso. Oh, I lost my camera. All right, why did you turn off camera? You're not supposed to turn off. All right. Okay, note to look at camera settings. Okay. These cameras can be a little wonky. It's the second time that one turned off, so I need to hold on for a second. Need to make a note. Camera settings. Camera settings. Okay, I'll look at that tomorrow morning. All right. I love dry erase boards and lists. What would I do without dry erase boards and lists? Okay, and I forgot to see. I've got 600 milliseconds offset on that. Let's see what technical director Jenny says here. All right. Does the microphone appear in sync with the video? Question mark. When you're doing all this, I mean, getting the microphones to sync with video has just been a royal pain in the butt. I don't know how everybody else does it. It's just a pain in the butt. Like, some people say you can run the mic through the camera. I tried doing that. The mic was noisy. Didn't like the sound quality. So I was like, well, I've got nice microphones. I got this recording studio. Nice microphones. Why don't I use a nice microphone? So we got the Baby Neumann, the TLM-102 for the desktop stuff, modeling. And then I've got the Roadies, which appear. I can't see your mouth, she says. All right, well. Check, check, check. Can you see my mouth now? How about that? All right, so Jenny's upstairs being technical director. All right, so back to Sir Raton. Yes, it matches. Well, look at that. We'll say yay. All right, so I have, if you don't know, I've got like, if you haven't watched me before, I've got like a bunch of different setups. So I have the modeling setup, which is this, me sitting in front of my laptop. We have the music setup, me sitting in the music computer. You can watch me do shooting in the big room. I just got another camera so that you can watch me make sets. I'll be working on some sets next week, shooting the keep, the castle keep. So just trying to live stream all the different processes in making a stop motion movie. In this case, a short. If it was a movie, there just would be more people doing it and a bigger budget. But in this case, it is just me. All right, so we're going to sculpt. It's got pretty good resolution already, so I don't want it to be too fine. I'm going to want it to be coarse. Okay, there we go. Now I can start working on this cowl. The cowl kind of comes over, kind of comes up a little bit. He's also got a split in it. Okay, I should don't want to do, yeah, we'll see. We'll try a little bit of mirroring and see what happens. Again, this is asymmetric, so make my brush a little bit smaller. All right, so kind of comes up over here. I think I need to make some adjustments for this. That's not his final head, but it's kind of the raw shape of his head, so All right, and it's gonna sit, needs to sit flat, not balloony. Okay, I need to take that mirror off. All right, so it needs to just kind of appear like it's just laying down on that. Not have much of a kind of balloony shape. Most of the characters are not moving their bodies in the shorts. They're not walking, they're not talking, they're not doing gymnastics. So my philosophy for puppets is kind of limited motion. Again, it's going back to the idea of return on time investment. It's like ROTI. And so I don't say, okay, this has to be the most perfect Warhammer 3 Trench Crusade Turnip 28 puppet. If I need that, I'll get Mark's Best to model it. And Mark's Best is an amazing sculptor. Mark and I have worked together for almost 20 years. And he has a knack and an absolute talent for sculpting, whether it's in clay, Sculpey, ZBrush. He is just an amazing talent. But I have to hire Mark because Mark has bills to pay. And so if I have a little money, I'll hire Mark to do. And if it's a really complicated puppet. So most of the puppets for the Tuberville 1815 series and for Trenchfoot, which are coming out in the next couple of months, those puppets Mark did. And so I have sent those puppets to some friends I have met through Instagram, Andy Green and Ryan James and Florian over in Germany. And those guys are amazing artists. And so those puppets are going to look amazing. In fact, Andy sent back, who did he send back? He sent back Sir Reggie. And then Ryan sent back a couple of puppets he worked on from Australia. And they look absolutely amazing. And so there was like Floose Crabs, the Crawdad, and Luke Merlini up in Toronto. He is an amazing artist as well. He goes under the handle Cohort, CC0HORT. Is that right? CCH0RT. And they just like, here's, we're going to digress just a little bit. So here's, this is one that Ryan made. And this is a little maquette he made. It's not really in focus. Right. So Ryan did that. And then Andy did this little grenadier right here. I don't know if you can focus them on. Just amazing guys, amazing artists, really nice people as well. And then Luke sent me some of these little turnip guys that he worked on that were currently Ryan's painting those in Australia. But it is an honor and a privilege to work with these guys. So some of them, like Mark gets paid. Mark needs to pay those bills. Some of the other guys are like, yeah, sure, I'll paint your puppets. So it's just been a privilege to be able to work with those guys. Okay, now back to Mr. Sir Raton's cowl. Okay, so we're still, I want to be in sculpt mode. Okay, there's that. Now, kind of follows his shoulders up. Just wanted to kind of follow the shape of his shoulders so it doesn't look like he's like got a balloon or a goiter or something.
Poor Mr. Raton has a goiter. It's quite unaesthetically pleasing.
All right, so he's starting to look a little bit more like a cowl, and then Pascal designed it with a kind of a zipper front, so that'll have to wait probably till I do the fine work. There's probably no point in trying to do a zipper. A crease at this level. Okay. That's not bad. Now the cowl needs to kind of come down. So it looks more cowl-like and less bib-like. All right, so there's that. That's not bad. And so tonight we'll just do coursework, and then another night we'll do some fine work. I don't know if I have the energy for 3 hours of modeling Mr. Raton, since it's, what time is it? Almost 8 o'clock here at night. All right, so that'll be, that's not bad. Okay. Let me flatten it a little bit here. All right. But it's, I think mainly what I was after was this kind of hard edge that's underneath. Kind of make it as look like it's a separate piece of material. Again, you know, the puppet is a vehicle to tell the story, so I'm not going to get too worked up about, you know, this being the best model ever. Again, I'm a bit of a hack. It just needs to be in the ballpark. It needs to look like a rat fighter. If it kind of looks like a rat fighter, we're doing okay. All right, Mr. Raton. I think that looks okay. I want to see, though. What that... Okay, and I'm going to put another one here. Okay, and I'm going to move this kind of close. And select this line, Alt, move it over a little bit. All right, I am going to go ahead and put a little bit of that crease in there, just to kind of see what it looks like. Probably need to move this brush smaller. Might need to pull that out with the... I might use the crease button to see if this works. Creasey crease. Creasey crease. Crease, crease, crease. That's not bad. And then I need to come over here. Select this object, go to sculpt mode, and do G for grab, and kind of bring that back underneath there. Okay. That's not bad. Looks like a little, it's got a little cowl. Okay. I'm going to play with that just a little bit more. Bring that down. Not going to really see them much from the back, but this does need to be come down a little bit so that there's some room for the head to rotate on that ball joint. Okay, so all right, so I need to make his head disappear for a second. Rat head. Okay, so need to kind of bring this stuff down. So that rectangle kind of represents where the ball joint's going to be. bit. Okay, gonna bring that down. There's that there. Gonna bring this back stuff back in. Alright, there's that. And there's that. Okay, make sure this camera was still working. Okay, there's this right here. What is that? That's his front. All right, now, gonna bring this up a little bit. I'll bring that down a little bit. Okay, come back, object mode. There's that, sculpt mode. There's this. Gonna bring that back in so it's underneath this cowl. Bring his rat head back on. All right, there's that. Okay, so we got his vest and we got his cowl. And then I'm probably, he's got his, so I need to have kind of a flat surface if he's going to end up rotating at all. So I'm kind of using these pants as a reference. Okay. All right, now he's got his cowl and he's got his vest. So let's work on his pants and his loincloth, his ratty loincloth. Okay. Let's go back to object mode and save this. All right, so we're working on Sir Raton. He is a rat. Turns out he has a bit of a New Jersey accent, which is kind of funny. And we recorded Christina Diaz almost about a year ago. There's been other projects going on, so I'm finally back to Sir Raton. So what we've done so far is worked on his vest, and we made some kind of arm sleeve, shoulder sleeves for him. When I do this, right now I'm just working on the coarse work. When I do the fine work, after I'm done with the fine work, there's going to be some bullion insets here for his shoulder joint, which looks like that. And then he's also going to have wrist joint that works like that. I'll probably end up making his arm fur in clay, which would mean that his legs are probably gonna need to be in clay as well. So I might end up, I don't know, I might end up doing legs in clay as well. And then just have like clay feet. Both the dragons that we did for Delta Dragons were all in clay. They turned out okay. They had 3D heads, 3D printed heads. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do then, all right, I think I want him to be able to rotate his torso though, so let's do this. So add, that geometry is already finished geometry, so I'm going to add a mesh cube. Yeah, we'll do a cube. All right, and then we are going to move this. Let's move it here. And we'll make it bigger. Scale. Oh, that's not what I want. Why are you scaling the rat reference? There we go. Rat reference will not be scaled. Okay. There we go. That'll work there. And then let's scale it. Oh, I need to hit this one here. Maybe a little bit like that. Move it over a little bit. Here we go. Move it up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Then I'll end up trying to match that. Now, so this is his, what are we going to call this? Loincloth? No, lower body? Pelvis? Hips? I guess we'll just call it lower body for now. Okay, so we are going to then, I'm going to rough this out a little bit. Okay, edit mode. And let's put, needs to be odd number. Okay. And then, there we go. Okay. All right, now, because I need to move this down. So let's pick that. I think I will go ahead and do. Why are you not doing them both? Does it need to be in skull mode to do that? All right, there we go. We'll do this. Okay. And there's this. There's always better ways of doing this. I just don't know how to do it. Okay. So we'll just start working on his torso. Like that. He's a rat. Just start roughing in this torso. He's got some ratty thighs. Actually, if I'm going to do clay, I need to probably just, I'm just going to get rid of this pants or whatever it's called. Trousers. All right, there we go. And I'll just use the legs as a kind of a reference. So we'll do the lower body, and then we'll rotate his upper body on his lower body. So he's gonna need then, similar to the arms, he's gonna need this is gonna come up. I probably would do myself better just by doing that. Okay. All right, because it's gonna be basically his loincloth, and he's gonna have some joints for his legs. All right, sculpt. Let's bring this down, this back down. Bring that back down. So these are actually gonna kind of come up here. And this actually come back down. Oh, geometry's getting weird. Okay.
I don't like weird geometry.
All right, so this needs to come kind of back up here. Loincloth's gonna come down. That's gonna come down. That'll come down. That'll come out a little bit. All right, so his little clay furry legs then will kind of be in here. Now this needs to come back up here. He's looking kind of chonky. I need to kind of maybe bring that up a little bit.
He's had too many desserts.
All right, so that's gonna look like that. The front needs to be a little flatter because it's a piece of cloth. All right, and needs to be really flat. Okay. All right, there's that. These little butt needs to come in. All right. This little rat butt.
I suffer from rat butt.
All right, there's that. Gonna smooth that out a little bit. All right, now, okay, so his little rat legs. So he'll have rat legs and wire rat feet. Now this is gonna be his little loincloth here. Okay, so there's that. He's looking kind of skinny. I might need to widen him up a little bit. Let's do this. Object mode, this. Let's just widen him up just a little bit. There we go. Kind of like that. Got into a little bit of a rabbit hole there, so he was looking kind of skinny. All right, so let's make his torso be a little bit wider. Okay, there we go, like that. All right, so this is basically going to be a rotation point around his waist, and then we're going to have, we'll have some points. Again, I don't really want this to be symmetrical, so he's going to have some points where his little leggies come in right there. This brush is a little bit too big. Okay. There's that. Okay. So this loincloth needs to kind of appear to be dropping down. So let's bring that back up here. There's that. Ish. It's looking like he's wearing some diapers. All right. And then this can come in. This can come in right here. So we're just doing some coarse work on his lower torso. And then whenever the next session is, we'll do the fine work. So he's basically wearing a leather tunic and a leather loincloth and a cowl. And then I don't know if I'm going to steal this, steal this head and try to make him look a little bit more aggressive. Get rid of the shoulder or just use it as a reference. Okay. All right, so, and then there's going to be some points here. Just got to figure out how I'm going to hide that. Guess he's going to kind of need to have cloth all around it. Hide that joint where his leg's going to come in or come out. All right, so there's his little loincloth kind of draped down there. And we'll want it in the back too, even though we won't really see him from the side. And then there'll be an inset point for his wire, cloth covered wire tail that came from the craft store. Okay, I'm gonna save this. Or we'll just call it loincloth. Okay. Bloop. All right, there's that. And save. All right, so Mr. Raton now. Oh, he's also got this weapon. We need to make the weapon too. That'll be fun. I'll probably just end up printing the blade and then using a dowel for the handle. Because I find printing long sticks doesn't really work in the 3D printer. All right, let me work a little bit more on these leg joints and then we'll work on his blade. I think coursework wise, it's basically, maybe just bring the loincloth out a little bit. There's that. Yeah, the cloth cover his hips or so. He can have some chunky hips, that's fine. All right, and then this needs to transition a little bit better here. Transition in a little bit better here. Okay, there's that. Okay, bring that back down a little bit, like he's wearing some shorts.
Hey, he's got some fine leather shorts.
All right, there's that. Okay, Mr. Raton. And then this will be kind of his loincloth right here. His leg joint will be kind of up in here. All right, let me do this. So here's the shoulder joint and object mode. Shift D to duplicate. Shift D to duplicate. Shift D to duplicate. All right, so this will be, that's his right, so shoulder right. This is his left shoulder. Yep, there we go. So I'll just rotate points in the wrong place. Okay, shoulder left. This will be hip right. And this will be hip left. And these are shapes that Mark Spess uses, and I have stolen or adopted, or however you want to say, for using on my guys too. So we want to set the origin to 3D cursors, 3D cursor here. Set origin to 3D cursor, and then spin it around. Bloop, bloop. Alright, there's that guy. Move him so his little hip's going to be down here. It may end up being smaller at some point, but alright, so 3D cursor, set origin to 3D cursor, and rotate. There's that. Okay, and we'll move this right about here, just kind of roughly. There's that. I'll move him right about. Oops. Here, oops, I'm on 3D cursor. Okay, there's that. And they'll kind of be up in here. They'll be kind of up in here, roughly. That's his little leg joint. So that's his little leg joint there. Probably rotate it a little bit. There we go. And then, I'll probably end up changing the scale of it, but for now, that works. Okay, I'm gonna move him down here, and we'll rotate him. All right, 3D cursor, there's that. Set origin to 3D cursor, and rotate the shoulder joints. Okay. And then move this a little bit here. There's that right there. Move that. Move him a little bit back here. Again, I'm just roughing these in. We'll worry about the fine work on another session. And plus this also kind of helps me see how much I need to bring these out. Okay, that needs to come out a little bit more. Instead of those those big strong rat shoulders because he's a fighter. Okay. Bring that out down there a little bit. Okay, that works. And then probably gonna need one of these for his tail. No, tail I'll just end up doing a boolean and making a little shape for it. He doesn't need a he doesn't need a joint for that. Okay, so now object mode, there's this 3D cursor, set origin to the 3D cursor, and then rotate that around. Okay. Bring that up like that, and then we will rotate this like down there. Rotate that right here. Okay, let's see what I'm doing here. Oh, there goes my camera again. Camera. Thought I had you set to the right mode. Are you not plugged in? Oh, you wouldn't be able to turn on if you weren't plugged in. Anyway, that's tomorrow's project. Figure out why it keeps shutting off after 30 minutes. Maybe it's not back in the HD mode. Like the Canon cameras, software is a little confusing, but they've worked out okay. All right, so now, all right, there's that side, there's this side, move him here. There's that, move him here. There's this little arm joint right there. So that's roughly what that'll look like, kind of right there. All right, now he's got his joints. Move this in here like that. There's that. And there's that. Now, I think that tells me I want to bring that loincloth down a little bit more. So object mode, select that, sculpt mode. I want to bring this down a little bit more. Looks like he's wearing some diapers. Okay, there's that. Now, I'll bring this back in the back here too. That'll help support his tail. Okay, bring this up a little bit. Bring this down a little bit. Bring that down a little bit. There's that. And then bring this down a little bit. Bring that. I need a file save as. We'll call this joints. Okay. Joints for Sir Raton. All right, now. We're going to work on that blade. Let me bring this up a little bit. All right, so that'll be where his clay, kind of his clay leggies meet that. Okay, so we got his rough torso, he's got his rough vest, his rough, or coarse cowl. Work on these shapes so it doesn't look so hippie.
He's got peach hips.
All right. Sir Raton is peach shaped. That's all right. He's okay with his body. He's just here to slice you with his slicer. He doesn't care what you think about his looks. All right, so that's kind of his pants there. I think I'm going to make this a little bit more squattier. All right, now, then I'll move this up a little bit. Let's see, his hips are kind of higher. I might have made his hips a little low, but I think I like that proportion a little bit better. Okay, now gonna rotate this a little bit. Oops, there we go. Bring it a little bit closer. Move that there. We rotate it a little bit. Okay, there, that works. Now, let's see what we're gonna do. Mr. Raton. Okay, so he's got his little insert for his tail. So once we do the fine work, then this will be a boolean, which will make a space or an insert for his little tail. All right, it's tail cylinder, it says. Okay, there's his vest. And his rat head and his neck cube, which is basically going to be an insert where his ball and socket goes. Yeah, he looks okay. He's not perfect, but he's okay. He's good enough to tell a story about a joke. Whatever he tells stories of. Okay, so now let's do this blade, and then we'll do his head. So for this one, we're going to add an empty, what is it? Is it, it's been a while since I've done this. Oh, here it is. Add a mesh single vert. There it goes. Okay. Oh, I need to have the 3D cursor where I want to start. So I'm going to start it here. All right. So now add mesh, single vert, add single vert. Okay. Now I'm going to extract that and extract it along this shape. And then kind of bring that up here. This way we can make the shape of the weapon without having to sculpt it too much. We can just kind of create the unique shape. And the weapon's mainly planar, so. Okay, and then we'll bring it back over here. Okay, now that is our blade. And let's get rid of the rat reference. Okay, so there's our vertices. So we're going to go into, we're already in ed mode, so we're going to snap those two guys together, merge. There we go. So now is object mode. There we go. So there's our blade. So we're going to, how do I want to do this to begin with? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these. And we will extract, okay, along y-axis. There we go. So give some volume to his blade. All right, then, then I'm going to select this line here, and that should select the entire line. I'm going to hit fill. Then I'm going to select this entire line using the Alt key and fill. All right, so now we have the volume of the blade. And to sculpt it, I'm going to need to add some lines here. Okay, so there's that. Okay. Is it snapping? It should be snapping. That one didn't snap. Alright, so there's this, there's that, merge, hit center. Okay, there we go. Cut tool's supposed to merge. Turn X-ray off. Maybe that'll make it easier. Okay. There it goes. It's snapping now. Okay, and then oops. There we go. Escape to undo. Okay, there's that. There's that. And then we'll do one to here. And we'll do one to here. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Now, we'll do one here. Oops. Did that get it? Wasn't paying attention. Yeah, looks like it did. All right, now, so we have to make some geometry in order to be able to sculpt it a bit. Okay, we're gonna go from here to here to here. So we'll make that. And then I need to make this into, well, it's best to make it into a trapezoid, but I'll do it by doing this. There you go, I made it into a trapezoid. They just say it's good practice to have trapezoids. Trapezoids, 4 points. Okay, there's that side, even though we're gonna have spikes up here. Okay, there's this one to that one to that one. And then this one to that one to that one. Okay, and then we'll do this one to that one. And this one to that one. Okay. Alright, now we're going to have this one to here, to here, to here, and here to here. And then we'll do here to here, and here to here, and then here to here, here to here. There we go. Alright, so we're just making some faces, and then we'll do the reverse side. Okay. I think that needs, I try to make them roughly similar in size. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's that side of his blade. We're going to come over here. So there should be a corresponding set of vertices for us on this side. So we got this to that. Got one there. Okay, so that means this needs to come to here to there, right? Yeah, that works. Okay. And then this one should come to here. That one to here. This one to here. All right, why did we have this extra guy here? All right, my geometry got messed up a bit. Okay. There's that guy. So is he coming down to here? Yeah, okay, maybe we'll do that. All right, and then this one comes here. It doesn't necessarily have to be symmetrical, but I guess. Okay, there's that. And that, and that. I mean, there might not be a whole lot of sculpting that I end up doing on this blade, but it needs some geometry in order to sculpt, and then I'm gonna remesh it when I'm in the sculpt tool, so I guess it doesn't really matter if I didn't do the best job making trapezoids. All right, that's good enough, I think. Okay, so now object mode, there's our little blade. It's gonna end up needing an inset down here for putting a dowel in the end. Let's go to sculpt mode. See what kind of resolution. Let's see if that works. It's not bad. It's not bad. All right. I want it to be kind of coarse. All right. So, all right. Here we go. Oops. I don't want to just smooth that out too much. Just want to add a little bit of kind of poof to it. It may not be the sharpest blade. Okay, I'm gonna kind of maybe I'll crease it. Maybe that'll bring that together. Okay, where's crease? There's crease. Yeah, that works. Okay. Kind of want it to be a little bit thicker on the top and maybe a little thinner at the bottom. Okay. Again, I'm not going to do coarse work on this. I'm just going to kind of make it kind of rough. Okay, and then let's see if we can blow out these little spikies a little bit more, add them a little thickness to the spikies. Let's see, where's the blobbo? Okay, blob that out a little bit. It probably just needs more geometry. All right. All right, there's some kind of funky stuff over there. That's good enough. There you go. Looks like his little blade. Let's turn this on there. Look at that. All right, we made a little blade, a little rat blade. Now I do need to fatten this up down here because there's going to be it needs going to need a space for a dowel. Okay. All right, so let's bring that there. So I think what I am going to end up doing. All right, I think what I'm going to do is go into edit mode and then select faces and extract this. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. Okay. And I'll add some geometry along the way. All right, that works. Okay, so then that'll give me something for when I inset the dowel. Okay, so then and there's this, and then okay, probably should have. Let's see here. Yeah. Let's do this again. Okay. Add a mesh cylinder. I need to get the kind of the rough shape. There we go before I start twirling it around. Okay, now there we go. Because the axes end up changing a bit. Okay, that should be enough for a dowel. There we go. Okay, now we'll rotate this. Move it kind of right there. Rotate that. Rotate that. All right, there we go. And this plane. that. And then in this plane, need to move it right there. And need to move it a little bit. Rotate it a little bit. Okay, there's that. So we're working on the blade, and I need to make an inset for the dowel. So that's kind of what I'm doing right there. It looks like that'll work. Okay. I'm gonna make this, see if I can scale it down a little bit here. There we go. Just need to make sure there's enough material around the edge so that when it 3D prints, it doesn't act weird. All right, so that's the blade, and there's the blade, and it's, I will call this the dowel pin. All right. Okay, so now let me organize a little bit, and let's call this weapon. Let's take it off cap blocks and watch what I'm doing. Okay, there's weapon, and we'll put blade in the weapon box, and we'll put the, where did, oh, dowel pin, there it goes, dowel pin in the weapon box. Okay, and close that up, and then we will put, I don't think there's anything in here. Let's do, say, joints. So move all these joints into the joint box. All right. Oh, apparently I didn't get them all. Okay, there's that and that. That should say shoulder. Okay. Right shoulder. There's the joints. Okay, so now I don't really need these legs. They're just kind of showing proportion. I guess they'll just stand there. Okay, and then the last thing is his rat head. Now, let's see here. Most of it's going to get covered up, and most of this is... see, I'm going to have to make a jaw, so I'm going to cut this into two. I guess, I mean, I'll start with this shape. Let's see here. Pascal's ears are down, so I need to bring the ears down. I need to make a mask. I don't know, what is that what we call a mask? A head covering? His head covering? I need to make a little head covering for him. His jaw's going to need to be separated, so I'm going to have to take another... I got to figure out what the mechanics of this is going to be, because the jaw's going to need to be, not be in the way of his chest. All right. I mean, okay, so probably what's going to happen then. Okay, so if we use the same head and we duplicate it, undo, where's that? My viewport shading turned off. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to call this rat skull, and then the other duplicate, oh, okay, Shift D, I need to keep it in the same location, rat jaw. All right, because I have to be able to put a pivot. I got to figure out how I'm going to pivot this jaw. I have the most luck with having an axle jaw. Some of my puppets, like the dragons, have had a pin jaw where it's just a single pin going up into the head. I don't like that mechanism. I prefer an axle jaw. So, I mean, that's going to take a little time to do. Probably won't do that tonight. All right, so tonight I'm just going to hide the jaw because that's going to take a little bit of work. We'll do that in another session. All right, so I'm going to bring his ears down, and then I'm going to I have to figure out how I'm going to do this little mask thing. His little face mask, his floppy face mask. Can't be too rigid or else he won't be able to rotate his head. And I don't know if I really want to make it out of cloth. Might end up making it out of cloth. If it's made out of cloth, at least it can move. And I have to put some thought into that. Okay. Let's just do his ears right now. Okay, so sculpt. See, Pascal's ears kind of flat. It's got kind of dog ears. Okay. Like a terrier. All right. I'm going to bring his ears down so they're not so. Am I in? I am on. It's on mirror. Okay. All right. Let's bring these ears down somewhat. Now, the puppet's going to have white LEDs, so all of this is going to come in. He's not going to have cartoony bulbous eyes because they're going to get replaced by LEDs. All this is going to end up getting drilled out or inserted out. Okay, but he's not going to have bulbous eyes. Okay. So it looks kind of weird now, but I'll keep his brow. But he's not going to have bulbous eyes because they're going to get replaced by LEDs. It's got this kind of inset for his pupil. All right, let's check and see if my camera's still on. So, there's that. All this is going to end up getting taken out when I lay it out. And Chi2 brush. I'm going to put some holes here for the LEDs. Okay, so now figure out how I'm going to rotate this jaw. If it's going to be inner axle or outer axle. It's got kind of a fat neck. I'm wondering if I'm just going to smooth this out. For his face mask thing. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay. I prefer this to be a little coarser, but since we're using the Sketchfab geometry. Alright, so I'll just smooth this out here. Smooth it over here. Alright, and I'm going to need a line here for his, kind of where his cowl stops. So I'm going to crease that there. And then I'll smooth that out. So it's going to need to come down to here. So that's going to be where his cowl is, or his mask is. Can bring it down to here. And then I'll smooth this out here to make it look kind of like he's got that little mask on. Alright, so, and painting it a different color will help sell the transition. Okay. And then I guess this is all going to get flattened out because of that mask. Plus I'm going to move his eyes lower, so I think all this is just going to get smoothed down because I'll just paint this as his cowl. Alright, so we'll just smooth all this out. Grab that, smooth it out. Because I'm going to move his eyes. Alright, there's that. Gonna grab that, bring it in, smooth this all out. Alright, I got this little pucker here. Geometry doesn't want to get fixed around there. And blob it out a bit. And then smooth it out. Yeah. I'm gonna put just a black hole in this geometry here. See if I can blob it out a bit. And then smooth it out. Yeah, it's just gonna look like a little pinhole. Okay. Back to get and smooth that. Smooth this, kind of bring those. Bring that down a little bit. All right, now, let's see here. So, got a crease for that. It kind of has a natural crease here for that. But I need to make a crease here for his, behind his ears for where the cowl will stop, or the mask will stop. Okay, and that's kind of pulling on that. Alright, and then he's going to need a crease for his, kind of where his eyes are. So I'm going to put this on mirror. All right, there it goes. Okay. So I'm going to bring this up here. See how that's working over here? It's not bad. Okay. All right, so he's got that crease there for his mask. Okay, it's turning out not too bad. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this in using the G grab tool and just kind of offset that or inset it, I guess. Maybe smooth it out a little bit. So it looks a little bit more like he's wearing his mask. And that's where the LEDs are going to go in there. All right, that's not too bad. All right, so we moved the eyes from the top of his head down to the side of his head. Maybe bring that in a little bit. Kind of show where the eyes are going to be when I do the Cheeto box, because the LEDs are going to go in there. All right, makes him look a little bit creepier too. I wonder if that's a little too low, but yeah, he's Sir Raton. He's kind of creepy. Okay, so looks like I need to bring that line down a little bit. What is it? C is the crease button. Okay, this needs to crease maybe a little bit more here. Oh, I think I was doing clay. Okay. Oh, Shift C is the shortcut. Okay, there we go. I was trying to figure out how I was filling that in. All right, there's that. Okay, I think that works. Okay, so then let's see here. Does there need to be a line over here for the rest of his mask then? All right, so I'll make that be the rest of his mask here. And then I'll crease this up here. That'll be where his little mask ends. Okay, he'll need a little crease up here for where his mask ends. Or does it go over his head? I guess it goes over his head. All right, so they'll smooth this out here. And it'll crease. Actually, Shift C, there we go. All right, so it'll be around his ears then is where the crease will go. And kind of bring it back over here. Come on, computer. I probably need to save this. All right, there's this, and we'll call this mask. All right, so then we'll bring this kind of around here. That way the mask will be that tan color and his ears can be the gray color. And there'll be like a way to delineate that. All right, and then, so there we go. I think that'll work. Okay. Looks kind of like an evil rat. All right, so object mode, save. So the last thing to do, coursework wise, is the jaw and the pin. Now, do I have the energy to do this tonight? Time is it? It's 9 o'clock. Well, I can start on one side of it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all this stuff. Hide his weapon. Hide all the joints. I don't need his legs. We'll just hide those. Gotta figure out. Well, I'm gonna need to do the jaw first, and then there's cowl. There's cowl. Okay. And then I'll worry about the neck joint. Okay, so gotta figure out where I'm gonna cut this jaw, or I'm gonna have it rotate. So I think, because it's going to need some space underneath it, so I probably need a reference cylinder for his jaw axis. Okay. Move this over here. Need to rotate this. Oops, rotate this. This is minus 90. Minus 90. 90. Alright, there it is there. And then move it over here. And I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Bring the end out. Alright. I'm wondering. And this is going to be an inside room. Yeah, if that's the case, then this is going to need to be kind of down right there. I'll make it bigger on the outside just to see where the rotation point is. Alright, so I think we're going to rotate it there. Alright, if that's the case, if it's going to be an outside, I might need to bring some of this geometry down to kind of hide that. Kind of bring this down and out. So I think the first, I don't really want to delete it because it's such a complex shape. If I try to fill it in, it'll be a mess. So I'm going to have to end up sculpting this back. And this is going to be a real mess. Okay. So, but I've done this before where I've had a complex geometry and I deleted it and then I tried to refill it and it was with the fill command and it was just a real mess. I think this is going to be easier just to basically bring all this back. Alright. I mean, the geometry is not designed for two pieces, so I gotta kind of bring this back. If it was a simple geometry, I would delete it, but then filling in the hole ends up being a nightmare, so it's just better to kind of just work this back and kind of just squish it in. Okay. I did not get those teeth though. I want those teeth to stay. Alright, just keep working this back without messing up his incisors. Because this is all going to get replaced with his, that other piece we copied, his jaw, and we're going to probably May end up deleting the other geometry on the jaw, but this one I don't know if I really want to do that. Harmony. Okay. Let's see here. Make that smaller. Smooth it out so it doesn't get too weird. And is there another, maybe this flatten? Yeah, just use the grabber. Okay. So the problem is if I delete this geometry and then try to smooth it, then I have to replace the rest of the volume, and that ends up being a real pain with complex geometry. So let me just end up pulling this out here. Bringing that back. Try not to grab those upper teeth. Down. Okay, there's that. Okay, bring the rest of this back. Basically, just kind of smushes bottom jaw back into the. I'm grabbing those teeth. Okay. I might end up having to replace those teeth. Smooth this out a bit. Okay, bring that up a little bit. Okay, make this bigger. Just don't want to grab that other stuff. These teeth end up looking kind of goofy. Okay. Alright. And make this brush smaller. Just kind of bring that up there. Alright, so okay, smooth this out a bit. Okay, kind of bring it up. And basically I'm just smushing this jaw back into his skull so that I can keep the geometry whole, because in the past when I've deleted geometry like this, it's just been a real nightmare trying to get the geometry to close. And then when you try to print it, it just ends up being a total mess. Like it doesn't want to print. It gets all confused because it doesn't know where the rest of the geometry is. So in this case, I'm just going to smush his jaw up into the back of his skull and then replace that with another piece that we might be able to delete the geometry on. And then we can, yeah, I don't want to grab those upper teeth. Okay, we might end up doing this, finishing this up another day. All right, well, you can see what the idea is. Basically, the idea is that we are going to bring this jaw back into the body so that the geometry stays whole, because fill command, I don't know, it's going to act really weird with this complex geometry. And then we'll have another piece that's the rat jaw. So I probably will end up let's try this. Let's delete this geometry, edit mode. We'll see how this works. Okay. And the vertices. All right, I'm on the right guy. Okay, I need to come back. Object mode, select object, edit mode. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna try to basically see. Here's the problem with deleting geometry. If you're not careful, you end up with massive holes, and then it's hard to fill this because it's hard to make a big loop because it's just super complicated. Because complicated geometry, and then you're like, well, why don't I just start from scratch? So yeah, again, it's return on time investment. There's a problem with this job then. If I cut all this off here, I gotta fill it up with something. All right. I'll worry about that later. Okay, I think we're gonna call it a night. I really do appreciate the time you spent with me and Sir Raton. And so I need to get out of edit mode. There we go. He's kind of a hot mess, isn't he? There we go. He's back to that. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with that. File, save as, job. And that's kind of how you make a puppet. All right. Have a good night. Oh, I lost the camera again. Oh, I gotta work on this camera. All right. Have a good night.
Hey, Scully. Yar, Stinkosaurus.
Oh, right.
Arty, ar, ar, ar.